I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation by Mr. Gene Goodsky. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation by Mr. Gene Goodsky.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation by Mr. Gene Goodsky.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. and as always, we'll start with our invocation.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at
9:13. Thank you. Does that every time.
She lied again. Boogie bodies. We need more than that. Every time I say the mob on up, that's you guys, the leaders. Yeah, the mob on up.
Miigwech.
Nothing but
Miigwech, Jean. Roll call, please.
Kathy Chambers,
Here.
David Morrison,
here.
Brandon Bennett,
Here.
Travis Morrison,
Here.
Ray Chula.
Here.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
We have one addition underneath other, fire donation for an Angela House for a rental of $500. We'll put that under the other.
Okay. If no other additions or deletions, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'd like
Oh,
to
go
request to move the organizational chart discussion and vote to general session to this meeting, pull it out of executive and put it in this meeting. I don't think there's like anything in there with as far as numbers, salary numbers, or
Yeah.
or anything like that. I would just like to be discussed in an open meeting.
Council members?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brandon to move the organizational chart to regular session and out of executive session.
I'll second.
Seconded by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Can we put that, where do you want that, Brandon?
Wherever Corey wants it.
Core?
Might as well do it, at the end.
Okay. We'll put it under other. Okay, call for a motion to approve the agenda with additions.
Move.
Moved by Trav, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brandon, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes from the December 21st, 2016 meeting in Lake Vermillion.
Move.
Moved by Ray, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Core? I don't see any new staff.
I don't believe there's any new staff in here, so
Okay.
we'll move on with the consent agenda.
Okay, call for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the contract with Advantage Billing for a temporary certified medical coder to help get caught up on the coding, contract with Brown Housing Consultants for services in the development of tax credit 3 housing project and work plan, resolution for the C-Test grant application to U.S. Department of Justice, contract with Twin Ports Testing for geotechnical soil borings for the Tax Credit 3 project, and Tribal Historic Preservation Consulting contract with Bill Latati for the Bois Forte Heritage Museum. Call for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Ray, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Okay, first we have Pam Hughes, Jane Lorenz.
I'd just like to make a comment that when we're live streaming the meeting, and anybody with questions or comments will have to come up to the podium to speak. When people talk in the audience, the band members or whoever's watching on the live stream do not have the ability to hear you when you're sitting there, so we ask that everybody come up to the podium. You can sit there. Good morning, Pam.
Morning.
Good morning, Jane.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I'd like to introduce Jane Lorenz. She's from Department of Human Services and has been very helpful in helping with the GRH agreement.
Okay.
I'm going to pass out some packets on group residential housing. There's a lot of detail in here, maybe more than you need, but at least there's a lot of information in there. Excuse me. Our part of the Department of Human Services oversees group residential housing along with Minnesota Supplemental Aid, General Assistance, homeless work, and work on the Social Security advocacy and SOAR grants, which is later on in your agenda. Group residential housing, along with Minnesota Supplemental Aid, are income supplements for people who are adults, who are poor, and have disabilities. And disability is very broadly defined. It includes physical disabilities, it includes mental health disabilities, and chronic chemical dependency. Group residential housing provides an income supplement to pay for someone's room and board, and it can be used in a variety of settings, and there's a table in your packet that goes over all the settings. But they can kind of be divided up into two kinds of settings. Group settings, which would be like adult foster care or assisted living or board and lodge, and then community settings, which would be like your housing developments, New Moon, that type of setting. Back in 2015, the legislature passed some changes to group residential housing. One of those changes allows tribes to do their own agreements, so they have a lot more autonomy on who they can work with. The counties still have to take the combined application to get the person qualified, but St. Louis County has assigned 2 staff to work with your staff to take those applications and get them processed quickly. So we think this would be a really good program for you to use in some of your housing developments. Pretty much anyone who's experiencing homelessness is probably eligible for group residential housing. This would provide $891 a month in room and board payments. And there's also some supplemental service dollars if the person's been long-term homeless. And Pam works a lot in the long-term homeless. So it's probably all of the clients that she's working with. And we've been working with Pam and her staff to get the agreements and all the paperwork ready to roll here. And I think she has it all done from what I can see. So I think it would, it's not always the easiest program to manage, but once you get used to it, I think you'll do really well with it. And we're available to help in any way.
This is a new added service? Or, okay.
And then the Minnesota Supplemental Aid is another program for folks that are on supplemental security income. That's the SSI program for people who don't have enough work quarters but are considered disabled by Social Security Administration. And that can provide some additional monies. It's usually $81 a month, but in some circumstances it can provide almost $200 a month for someone if they have a housing burden. And there's some information in your packet about that. The county's used to doing that, and we can help them make sure that they process your folks that might be eligible for that program too. But that might be a really good supplement for some of your folks too, living out in the community, whether it's here in Nett Lake or Vermillion or down in Duluth too.
I see on the vendor profile form that's attached to this document is that it, number of licensed beds says 5 and number of authorized group residential housing beds is 5. Are we limited on that, or is that just an estimate?
Okay, so on the first attachment where we have the actual group residential housing agreement in community settings, so what happens when we have to fill out the profile form? I'll use the example of New Moon.
Okay.
So at New Moon, we have 8 one-bedroom apartments in one building. And so that would be one profile form, and it would, where we would actually license 8 beds within that facility.
Okay.
So then we have the duplexes. Some of them are 2-bedroom units, some are 3-bedroom units. So in the vendor profile forms, what we have to do is, because each one of those duplexes has their own physical address, we have to do a profile form for each physical address. So in the apartment complex, we only have to do one profile because it's one address. But each unit then will require us to do an individual profile form. And so you'll, in there where we listed each address, that's at New Moon. So if it's a 2-bedroom unit, we authorized 2 beds. If it's a 3-bedroom unit, we've authorized 3 beds. But it could be that if it's a family living within the duplexes and both parents are eligible for the GRH, then we would get that twice.
Okay, got it.
Yep. And then with the Nett Lake duplexes, that has to be a separate agreement because the duplexes are through the Bois Forte housing. And so we did a separate agreement for the duplexes and then listed each duplex by their physical address.
Okay. Thank you, Pam.
And the payments come out by address through the Maxis system at the state, and then they'll come directly to Bois Forte as the essentially the landlord or the property owner.
Okay.
So that's how it's set up. And the person first pays their income up to their personal needs amount, and there's some deductions. And then whatever is left over that needs to be paid, then the state pays that up to $891. And that goes up in the summertime to, I think, around $894, $895.
Okay.
Now, how fast does this happen? I mean, it's not like an emergency program, because we get people that come in and need housing now. We have to find a place for them, and then they have to do paperwork. Like at New Moon, there's paperwork to do, and there's an approval process. So,
There is an approval process, but I think that Pam and her staff could help the folks that are applying make sure they have all their verifications. Some of these folks might already be on county assistance, so then it's really fast because it's just adding another program. They've already done the verifications. And for those that may need to put together their bank account information, I'm assuming your staff can help them do that, and it could be a pretty quick turnaround. The county is committed to making this work. That's why they've assigned a couple staff. So I'm hoping we could turn things around in a couple days to maybe a week to get payment out. And then once the person is on the program, they just have to be recertified either when they move or just once a year if they stay at the same address. So then it becomes very automatic. It comes out like the first of the month or so.
another question, say if we're full or don't have anything available, something's not ready, and there's a vacant unit in a neighboring community, would this apply in that, or does the owner of the facility need to approve this?
It would work in neighboring communities and in other places. They would have to have like a habitability inspection to make sure it's, has running water, electricity, that type of thing. Not quite as stringent as like a Section 8, but they would have to do that. But it could work in other settings, whether that's like in Orr or down in Virginia, or, you could use it in lots of different places.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I was going to ask too, I see there's a supplemental service rate. How does that apply?
If the person is long-term homeless, which is pretty much everybody that's working with Pam and her staff, then there is a service rate that's paid on top of that room and board rate, and that pays for the services to be provided. Some of the documents outline what the services are, but it's the basic stuff, you know, the independent living skills, if they need help getting transportation someplace, doing that, making sure medication is set up properly, getting to doctor appointments, all that type of stuff, helping them apply for other benefits. It's those kind of basic case management services that you think of.
Okay, so they have to have a case plan.
Yeah, you come
To
up with
be
a plan,
eligible,
yeah,
and
with
then,
the person.
Just, what if you get in a situation where somebody doesn't follow, the client doesn't follow through with a case plan?
Well, we want you to still try to do outreach with the client, try to keep talking with them, maybe make phone calls, just drop by. We do know that certainly people with chronic chemical dependency, chronic mental illness may not always want to work with someone. So we want you to keep trying, but knowing that sometimes it's going to be difficult. As long as there's efforts made and case notes to that effect, then you can continue to get that supplemental service rate. And usually people will kind of come around after a while, but we certainly see that happen a lot.
Okay, thank you.
If any other questions for Pam and Jane? I think it sounds like it's going to be a great program for us and help our residents and also our providers and our programs. So if no other questions, I'll call for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Moved by Ray. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Pam?
On the agenda, I think it lists the I-Falls lease agreement next.
Yes.
But we're going to move on to the SSI advocacy grant while Jane is here.
Okay.
This is a continuation grant that we did have to reapply for, and so this is the new contract.
Okay. So it's just a renewal grant,
Yes. and what-
basically just,
What this does is, we have staff that are trained to help individuals fill out their applications for Social Security. And they will actually, the staff is even, if we fill out an application and then it's sent in, and everything is sent in by the computer, they do get paperwork back, the individual does, that they have to sign. But, so we kind of walk them through everything, and then if an appeal is needed, we also help them through that process. And Corey just recently worked with an individual from Vermillion to help her fill out the application and stuff. And so it can take up to 6 months before we
Yep.
hear something back. But for every application we fill out, we're given a certain amount of money to do
Okay.
that. Then if it's funded, we get a little extra money.
okay.
We also do an annual plan for Social Security, and what we get for that annual plan is $5,000 a year.
Okay. Pam, who are your staff that work
Corey
with this?
Kavatovich,
Okay,
Tracy Chosa, and myself.
okay. Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the grant contract for SSI, SSDI, SOAR advocacy.
I'll move.
Moved by Ray, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Now what? The falls?
Now we'll go on to the International
Jane.
Falls Office Lease Agreement.
Okay.
And they have increased our rent. We were paying I think it was $365 a month. and they've increased it to $420. And the reason it had been, why he's increasing it is because the property taxes have gone up.
How many square feet is that? You know?
I don't know how many square feet, but it has one, or it has two offices within it, and then it has one general area. I'm not sure of the square footage of it. And they, that includes everything. That includes our lights, our water, sewer, garbage. They shovel. He actually just did a whole bunch of improvements on the building. There were new doors put in. It's been all re-insulated, new siding, a new roof, and
Okay, good.
Big deal.
Okay, if no other questions, I'll call for a motion to approve the International Falls Office Lease Agreement.
I'll move.
Moved by Trav, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ray, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
okay, and the next one is for our annual evaluations on prevention programs in International Falls and Bois Forte. For the past several years, we have had Dane Hootla, who was a student at UMD and then transferred on to the Lincoln, Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, which he just completed his PhD. So Dane will not be able, he's not able to do our evaluations. So he contacted me, it was probably the first week in December.
Okay.
And so I did send an email to Melissa Walls at UMD and asked her if she knew of anybody that would be interested in doing our program evaluations. She had sent out a mass email to people in Minnesota and Michigan. And a gentleman by the name of Dr. Aaron Geary that works out of Duluth responded to it. And what Aaron is a part of this James Bell Associates, but what he mainly does evaluations on are Indian programs.
Okay. Okay, and this is a grant requirement for
Yes.
both programs. When is that due, Pam?
By the end, June 30th.
Okay. If no other questions, I'll call for a motion to approve the agreements. We'll do them both separately. The agreement with the James Bell Associates for the Bois Forte Prevention Program. It is in the amount of $1,000, and that's in the budget, correct?
Yes, they're each $2,000.
Oh, $2,000,
And so we
okay.
pay $1,000 once the contract is signed.
Okay.
And then once the evaluations
is
are turned in, then we pay the remainder. of it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Motion to approve? Moved by Dave, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ray, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. I'll call for a motion to approve the agreement with James Bell Associates for the International Falls Prevention Program.
Move.
Moved by Trav, is there a second? Second by Dave, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you very much, Pam.
Yep,
Great
thanks,
job.
Pam. Next, we got Randy Long with Northeast Service Cooperation Broadband Internet Service Agreement.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning. What I have before you is a contract for renewal of our internet access that supports the tribal government and its operations. The contract is to the Northeast Service Co-op. Its 5-year life cycle is up, and we need to renew it. And I'm recommending increasing the bandwidth this year to support the number of PCs and telephone systems we have on the current network.
Okay.
There was a $2,500 setup fee for this contract, and there's a monthly recurring fee of $1,500. This current circuit supports all tribal administration, healthcare, Nett and Vermilion, the social center, boys and girls, wellness center, education, radio station, both Head Starts in Nett Lake and Vermilion, court, police department, and KBFT.
Okay. Has this rate gone up at all, or is it still the same, or?
No, it's the same.
Okay.
Well, our original circuit is a 100 megabyte circuit, and that costs $800 a month. I'm recommending going up to 300 megabytes because we have plans of moving more phone systems over the top of this network.
Okay.
Therefore, needing the greater bandwidth.
Okay.
We don't pay that initial fee again, though, do we?
No.
Okay, it's just the monthly
Oh,
reoccurring fee.
we will increase in the bandwidth. We will have the $2,500 fee associated increasing the
A setup
With
bandwidth.
that,
fee.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was going to ask if, is this broadband service going to allow at some time in the future a connection to homes?
Yes, or if Bois Forte finds funding to do a fiber to the home, this same service can provide internet access to them homes.
Will we have to increase the,
We would have to increase the amount of bandwidth or pull in a separate circuit from the service co-op to provide internet access to the homes.
I think that was a long-range plan, wasn't it? To
The fiber to the
eventually get homes,
It is.
individual homes onto this system because of the quality of the service?
Yes.
There also is a big push on a legislative level for broadband throughout the state. So it is a big political issue this year.
So we might get some funds to support it.
We're hoping so. We're actively working with the Blandin Foundation, the IRRRB, and looking at some state funding for
Yep.
potential fiber to the home projects.
Good.
If no other questions, I'll call for a motion to approve the agreement with the Northeast Service Cooperative for broadband and internet service.
I'll move.
Moved by Ray, is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried. Thank you, Randy.
Okay, next we have Tom Burr. Resolutions for leases.
Morning, Tom.
What I have this morning is 3 transactions. I have a recreational lease for Janet and Victor Walter on Skogman Drive.
Just a renewal.
Yeah.
Call for a motion to approve renewal lease for Janet and Victor Walter.
Is that vacant now, or is there a building on there?
There's a building on there.
Okay. I'll move.
Moved by Ray, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried.
The next on the list is a residential lease modification for Raymond and Victoria Villebrun on Pineview Road. We're extending the years of the lease to fulfill the mortgage requirements.
Okay. No. Moved by Dave. Is there a second? To approve?
Second.
Second by Ray. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried.
The third one is a modification of another residential lease for Richard and Robin O'Shea They purchased the structure in Indian Point, the former Frank Connor residence, and I have to extend the years of the lease to match the mortgage again.
Okay. Motion to approve? Richard and Robert O'Shea lease. Modification. Moved by Dave, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Next, we have Jamie Burdick with a request to transfer a Suburban to the BIA.
Morning, Chief Burdick.
Morning. Yeah, we're requesting that the Suburban we got that we use for transport to be transferred over to the BIA. Hey, we run into a problem with, if we got into an accident in it, we're government employees, we shouldn't be driving tribal vehicles. And right now, we don't have no tribal employees.
Okay. So basically, it's a liability
Yeah,
issue.
it's a liability issue.
Okay. Call for a motion to approve the transfer of the Suburban to the BIA.
Move.
Moved by Ray. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chief.
Jamie.
Next, we have Joel with a retained services addendum and tribal transportation plan.
Good morning, Joel.
This is our yearly approval for retained services addendum and also the tribal transportation plan for the next 3 years. Starting with retained services addendum, right now I have what you see in front of you as far as preliminary engineering and survey plans for the streets listed. The reason I'm doing so many this year is in case there is a stimulus rolled out for any reason, that we'll be the first ones that have ready-to-go projects, and all the plans will be done sitting on the shelf. So
Okay.
it's not too much money to spend to be ready for it. So, so then I would need a resolution approved for that.
The project is for St. John's Drive, Tibbetts Trail, Pineview Estates, Nett Lake Cemetery Road, Camp Road, and Forestry Compound.
Yes.
It's really good to be proactive, especially when funds come available, and to have shovel-ready stuff to go. Any questions? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the retained services addendum for 2017. Moved by Dave, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Thank you. The next resolution we have is for the actual tribal transportation plan. What you have listed on here in front of you is basically the same roads. Again, we cannot spend money on these roads unless they're listed on this plan, so I've listed everything possible that we would use under a stimulus plan. Majority of the transportation money, tribal transportation money, will be spent on maintenance this year and next year, mainly because we spent over $2 million in Vermillion in the last 3 years, and we spent over $1 million in Nett Lake, Palmquist, Indian Point just on construction. So now we're going back and keeping up the maintenance on the roads. But if they do roll out a stimulus, these roads are to the point where we could redo them instead of maintenance them. So.
Good.
It does sound like the feds are gonna throw a bunch of money at construction, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, in some form or another, so I'm guessing we'll get something for it anyway.
Okay.
So,
Good.
And the parking lot at Fortune Bay is considered a reservation road?
I put that on our inventory 3 years ago, which has enabled me to spend our construction dollars to keep up the parking lots.
That's good.
Yeah, Reservation Road.
Good.
Yep,
I'll
and
move-
they're designated with, instead of route number, they'll have a P in front of it, all the parking lots will, so.
Motion made by Ray to approve. Is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job, Joel. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Joel. Okay, first, we have an appointment, a discussion for an appointment for the Dakota and Ojibwe Language Volunteer Working Group. We actually received money from the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, and that's right now with Teresa Knife Chief is in charge of our Ojibwe language and developing curriculum. And so being that there's a Dakota and Ojibwe language work group, Shannon Gijek from the Grants and Legislative Director for the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council is requesting us to appoint somebody, and so my recommendation would be Teresa Knife Chief.
And the costs for the meetings are covered by the Indian Affairs Council.
Yes.
No questions, Brandon?
You're okay with this?
Okay. Call for a motion to approve appointing Teresa Knife Chief to the Ojibwe Language, excuse me, Volunteer Working Group. Moved by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trav. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Okay, next we have a discussion on the Boys and Girls Club.
I had asked Corey to put this on the agenda for discussion. There's been some issues regarding the Boys and Girls Clubs, not so much the services, but the amount of money that we pay the Boys and Girls Clubs for our youth. Right now, in looking at their budgets under the Boys and Girls Clubs, we only get 42% of the funding that the tribe pays. That actually goes towards the clubs. We pay $280,000 a year to the Boys and Girls Clubs, and so I think maybe about $120,000 is actually budgeted to each club.
I also found out too that the National Native American Boys and Girls Club office sends them an additional $40,000 just for our two clubs, and they had asked me if that money was actually being spent at the clubs. I told them I didn't know because it's hard to track it on the Boys and Girls Club's financial documents they provided. So I couldn't give them an answer, yes or no, if it actually was being spent there. So besides the money we send them, the National Native American Boys and Girls Club sent them an additional $40,000, so anyway.
That's about $320,000 a year.
Yeah.
I know that I did talk with each of the club project directors, or whatever they call them, and they have been limited to what they can do. There's been events planned. I know one was in Vermilion for a Bentleyville trip where they had them all signed up and ready to go, and they couldn't go. They were told by Duluth they could not go. I'm almost certain that we could probably run these two clubs on our own, but that's why I brought it to us for discussion today. We have a great program in Vermilion. We know that. But I guess I would like to ask for some discussion on this. Also, the girls that are, the staff that are under the Boys and Girls Club are not being paid the minimum wage that was approved by the Tribal Council, which was $10.10 an hour. Their wages are lower than that under the Boys and Girls Club. Bois Forte bought the vans. for the clubs. And I know that part of that probably is rental income. They have to pay rent at the school, I'm sure, Nett Lake School. Not sure about the wellness center. Okay, thank you, Janelle. They do not pay any rent at the wellness center. We've asked for budgets from the Boys and Girls Clubs, and to date, we still haven't gotten them. And they did send a kind of a lump sum budget, which didn't break down salaries or costs. I kind of feel we're supporting the Boys and Girls Club and not our own children. But those are just my views, and I'd like to hear from each of the council members on their views.
And then as far as the budgets go, it's not really any of the current directors' problem or issue, I guess, because they're the ones requesting it from the Duluth office. So we got the Vermilion office, we have the Vermilion Boys and Girls Club director, and we also have the Nett Lake Boys and Girls Club director. So they're just operating on the amount of funds that they are told they have to operate on, so.
Danny?
Well,
Excuse me.
I'd like to just comment that, to me, there's no argument. Because the Boys and Girls Club does so many good things, and it's probably the lowest cost education that could be provided. And I think it's, what we contribute is probably about $145 per site, and that is money well spent. I don't think there's any program that I know of where you can get that much bang for your buck. They got an education program, they teach values, they teach responsibility. Probably more physical education takes place there than in the schools. And, I've got a school background. Anybody that knows anything about education is going to see the value. You know, I ran the Nett Lake School for 9 years, and we had a budget between $4 and $5 million for about 60 kids, and another 40 that went to Orr High School at that time. But I mean, you think of what's done. They've got a curriculum. They're organized. As far as the wages go, I know I've talked to the Boys and Girls Club administration, and that minimum wage can be worked out. And the thing that maybe is not realized here at Nett Lake is that Vermilion started a club for kids probably about 15 years ago, and we struggled. We had a heck of a time. So what we did was we contacted Boys and Girls Club. They didn't contact us. And they agreed to establish in Vermilion. And I've seen the program struggle when they started about 2005. I've seen them struggle, and we had a hard time keeping staff. But the last 7, 8 years, it's been a valuable tool in the community. I mean, we don't have a school at Vermilion, and but the kids come there every day, and they spend from about 2:30 until 7 for the younger kids, and then the older kids stay until 8. But their time there is structured. It's not, okay, here's a ball in the gym, go run around and play. They have tutoring programs. They have a curriculum that they follow that teaches values and responsibility. The Boys and Girls Club is spoken very highly of by some of the people that have been through a Boys and Girls Club, and they've been spokesmen for them. Denzel Washington, Jennifer Lopez, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, Sugar Ray Leonard, Ahmad Rashad, Mark Wahlberg, and a couple other names on here. But to me, the big one is, and who has talk to us about Boys and Girls Club values. And that's Ernie Stevens, the director of the National Indian Gaming Association. I think everybody on the council knows Ernie Stevens, and most Indian people do. So my recommendation is that, you know, the Boys and Girls Club is such a high value for the amount we pay. I mean, there's a famous American guy by the name of Ben Franklin once stated, you know, a dollar spent on a child's education is returned 1,000-fold. So I think we have to really think seriously that this is not a valuable program. I mean, for what it costs us to have our kids cared for 5-6 hours every day, and learn things, and I can see the difference in the kids. I can, from before the program started, I can see the difference. I've been there, you know, right from the beginning of the Boys and Girls Club. And it has immeasurable value in how the kids, we're starting to see the older kids now, those that are 15, 16, 17, we're able to see their behaviors. And it's a big change. And it's all we got at Vermilion for a school. Of course, the elementary kids go to Tower School. High school kids are dispersed all over because, you know, we lost the high school in Tower about 5 years ago. And this serves as a place for the older kids to come and supplement their education. So I think we'd be making a very, very huge mistake by not using this program and this curriculum that teaches kids values and responsibility and academics. That's,
Thank you,
I've
Ray.
had my say. Whatever we vote on, I'm going to definitely vote to keep it as it is for both Nett Lake and Vermilion, because I think it's a valuable tool. And if there's problems that the staff are having with wages, those things can all be worked out. And, you know, I've got suggestions of ways we can do it. But I think we'd be making a huge mistake by discontinuing it.
Thank you, Ray.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I have really no issues. I know my kids participated in the Boys and Girls Club, every one of them, and even the ones up here in Nett Lake. And they did, I did like their power hour that they made them do their homework and stuff before they got a chance to play. They, you know, those are, they do have some good programs. Vermilion has some good programs. I have no doubt about that. But the one thing that I'd request if we kept it the Boys and Girls Club is there a way that that 100% of the money that we give them comes back to our programs here?
Yep.
Because right now we're being shorted on the amount of money that we're giving to them. And if we can get by that, I have no problem that they'll do a good job. It's just that we finally got some stable people that are working now in Nett Lake and in Vermilion. But I think one of the big issues is how much money we're giving them and how much money is actually being spent at our site. To me, that's one of the big issues that I have.
I think that can be documented. But another thing I wanted to add is, as far as activities that they may be refused, I think what's happening there is there are activities that haven't been budgeted for. So what the branch managers have to learn is they've got to create a budget and follow the budget. You know, we can't just come up with an idea. I'm sure there's a fund that they can draw upon, but some things are limited. It is a matter of planning activities and following through in your plan.
Danny, do you have a comment?
am, oh, thank you. One of those. We're obese, and because we are more obese than other populations, we were denied pizza. And so that just shows a disconnect between, their knowledge of our activities or who we are, what we want to do on our sites versus what they're allowed to do elsewhere. So that disconnect and just that story was a little concerning to me. And especially the amount of money that, yes, is going out of our community where we could use their model, most definitely, but I'm all about using a template that works and going with it and then just adapting it. Because we do have people around here that, like you're saying now, are stable, are there, know what they're doing, that would, I think, freedom. Instead of going to Duluth to ask for permission to do anything, they would come directly to you guys. It just seems more plausible and less expensive.
Well, that's, thank you, Danny, but I think that's probably easier said than done by taking that on. I don't know if everybody's aware, but the Boys and Girls Club has an intense training program. They have, the staff are on the phone at least once a week for a training session online, on the phone and online, and they train them constantly. There is, they're just a thorough organization. And I hear what you're saying, and I think, the incidences that you might be talking about with the pizza party, to me, that's something that I would have liked to have heard about because, or any one of us, and we would have made contact with the branch director and say, what is this? Because that's not right, and that shouldn't happen, and I think that must be an isolated incident. Because from what I hear, from what I see at Vermilion mainly, things like that don't normally happen, but mistakes do happen. But the training that the staff get is, I don't know, it's pretty hard to replace that.
I don't think it would be too hard to replace that, just because, like, for example, I know in the Head Start program, they do require, with Head Start money, for them to go for their AA and early childhood development. And that could be something that we put into our own program. We require them to, go to school. We are allowed 8 hours every 2 weeks, paid to further our education. So there are other ways that we can adapt it, again, to fit what we're doing here versus what they do in Nett Lake. And I know, Boys and Girls Clubs are great. Especially in those urban environments where those people you're referencing are from. But I just have a feeling that there's more room for us to explore how to meet the needs of our youth and our kids too, and have more flexibility in our programming. So I think that's about it. So I'm just thanks for letting me speak, and thank you for your insights too, Ray.
Thank you, Danny.
I think that, there's, for the amount that we send and the $40,000 more that's being sent there, I can't remember the amount that actually comes back to our community. What was that number again, Corey? The amount in their budget that they bring back to us?
I want to say it was 42%.
42%, it's about 60,000 a year budget for each site.
Okay, so the total amount going to them is 320,000 total.
Correct.
And the amount coming back is 120. So if you do the basic math on that, that's 200,000 a year that goes somewhere else. It doesn't come back to our community. So we basically are giving $200,000 a year. Who knows where it goes? And in my term that I've been here, 6 years. This is the way that I look at everything for, you know, in every decision that I make. That 200,000 a year times the 6 years I've been here, that's $1.2 million that that I sure wouldn't mind seeing in the budget. And that's the same way I feel about you know, the other decisions that we have to make. You know, teaching values, teaching discipline, teaching to do good in school. You know, me and Trav run a program all week and all weekend, and he knows, he sees firsthand the amount of money that I spend from the fall all the way to the spring. It's about $10,000 of my own money to teach these kids the same thing, values and discipline and structure. And, you know, I truly believe in the branch director in Vermilion, and I believe in the branch director at Nett Lake. And just like Danny said, I think that they can continue with what they're teaching, but it would keep the $200,000 in our community. You know, is a curriculum and whatever else they're claiming to give us, is that worth $200,000? My answer is no, not when it's the band's money. One thing we always have to remember, we're not talking about a small group of people that we have to keep happy or whatever else. We're talking about 3,000 people that we represent, over 3,000. And we have to make better decisions, because our ship is headed for ground, and that's a fact. And so, you know, if we had money and millions to throw all over the place, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But $200,000 a year that we don't know where it goes, that is a big deal.
Thank you, Brandon.
Well, I'll tell you just one thing, where the money goes, you got two staff that, in each site, you've got a branch director and a program director, and those two positions cost about $80,000. So there you got $80,000 in Vermilion. There should be probably another $80,000 at.
And that's included in the budget, right?
No.
Yeah, that's in. Well, I don't know.
The salaries and fringe were included in the budget for the directors at the site.
Kim, have you
Yes.
gone over that?
It was two.
But I know what their wages are, and the two at Vermilion, and it would cost $80,000, and then they've got some part-time staff, would probably be another 15 to 20 for the year. So you got 100,000 in salaries, and so what's left is for a program. And I think the Boys and Girls Club does take an administrative fee because they have their headquarters in Duluth, and they send a coordinator that comes out to Vermilion and all the other sites that they have. So part of that is paid, but there's not a lot of money left for program. It's for staff that teach the kids. And like I said, you know, it's not a lot of money to have kids in a school type setting. It's more of a club setting, but they're learning in such a manner that it's like they're having fun, which is the way learning should be. You know, an ideal school is you're there and you're having fun, you like being there. And that's when kids learn. But you know, I still say, you know, we're making a mistake. If we want more of our values implemented in the program, well, those are the kinds of things we can get across to the branch directors and to the administrator of the Boys and Girls Club. You know, but I see it happening at Vermilion. There's a lot of cultural activities that the kids get involved in over there. So,
Is there?
And, you know, just listening to Kim Greiner, the CFO, the budget that they sent them, she can't even read the budget. She can't even understand what it is. And to me, if we're talking about $320,000 of money, and they are in jeopardy of not receiving that anymore,
No, but it's included. They
you
did it
know,
because of
and
it.
they know what's coming down the pipe, or that it was going to be a discussion.
I don't think so.
They probably, I mean, if they didn't have if they felt good about what they're doing, they'd be here with their budgets, with a clear picture and numbers showing this is what we give your kids. This is the money we spend on your kids, on your community. This is numbers. And that's what we're up against. Our backs are to the wall with our budget and our financial situation. And, you know, these types of decisions are what got us here.
The one thing I was just going to mention is that I know we have been asking since probably, did you say August, Kim? August, September? We've been asking the Boys and Girls Club for a budget for the fiscal year on the amount of money that we send. And we have still yet to see a definitive, clear budget that we can understand. I mean, I read budgets all the time, and it doesn't add up for what we've seen and what was been sent. And you know, like you said, Ray, if there's a way that they can track our dollars that we send to them, then that's great. That's because that's what we're asking. We just want to know. I don't think it'd be an issue if we knew that.
I think we can.
Our money was coming back here.
I think maybe too, it would be a good idea to maybe set up a meeting with the parents from both sectors of the reservation to get their input and their ideas of, you know, what's working with the Boys and Girls Club, what's not working with the Boys and Girls Club. We just heard from one concerned parent here, and maybe set that up, and then we reevaluate the program again within 30 days. I know it's already February, and we're about 1/4 way into our budget cycle, and we'd have enough time to come back and make a decision to if we're gonna pull the money or if we're gonna stay with the Boys and Girls Club or whatever. But I'd suggest that we sit down with the parents and get their input, because they're the ones that they're the kids that are their kids are the ones that are utilizing the program, and get what their ideas are and what's, like I said, what's working, what's not working.
Kim?
The budget they submitted is just very basic. I mean, it doesn't have enough detail to make a decision off of or do any comparison of. They don't tell us of any staffing levels. They don't tell us of any fringe benefits or such, you know, in a detailed way so that we can see what's being paid where. It was maybe, what Kathy's seen it was like maybe 2/3 of a page long, and that was it.
Yep.
There was no detail on how much was spent on programs or anything like that. It was very, very, very generic.
And I believe the council, I had to be gone that day, but you guys did meet with the Boys and Girls Club and did request budgets at that time. Pam?
On the advisory board for the Boys and Girls Club. You know, when we're presented budgets, they're not very clear. Mary has questioned a couple things on the budget, never given an answer. She's questioned why, where staff from other areas are paid mileage to come to meetings that are held in Duluth, and why she wasn't paid mileage to come to Duluth. Our prevention program for Bois Forte, that's where our prevention program holds their activities. And so when Terry goes into the Boys and Girls Club, Terry has her curriculum that she works with, but she also provides anything that's needed for those activities. So it's not something that the Boys and Girls Club is providing for her. She provides all of that. I think in Vermilion, the kids are transported by the LIEC vans. So I don't know if the cost of that comes out of the Boys and Girls Club budget. I do recall last summer, Mary wanted to take Red Cross training to become a lifeguard because of the fact the water's so close, and Mary does a lot of activities on the water. She has the kids out kayaking, and but the Boys and Girls Club would not pay for her to become licensed to be a lifeguard. And so Mary did approach me and asked me if my program could pay for that. And I did let her know that that would be something that we would be willing to pay for, because of the kids that are in there are also the kids that attend our prevention programs. But I believe Mary ended up paying for it out of her own pocket so she could become certified to be a lifeguard. The other thing, we do provide meals and stuff. And I know just recently we also helped pay for a meal that was held there. And usually at the end of the year, we provide a big meal at the clubs because Mary's always just told there's no dollars for it. So we do, even in our prevention program, we're contributing to the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you, Pam. Trav. Hi, Luann.
Last year, I paid $10 for Lamar to get into the boys' club, but he never got ride. There was never a ride. Never no transportation, so he didn't go at all this year. I always took him about 5 times and have to go pick him up, and there was never no transportation. I don't know what happened to the bus or...
Okay. Okay, thank you,
No,
Luann.
he ain't going.
Thank you. Trav, you gonna say something?
To me, it's the numbers. All the money we send and the stuff that's brought back. In the budget we're in, it's kind of an easy decision to me.
And, you know, just so everybody's clear, you know, there'll be no staffing changes or anything like that. You know, we believe wholeheartedly in both staffs at Vermilion and Nett Lake. You know, with that, I'd like to make the motion that we cut our agreement or whatever it is, the money we contribute to the Boys and Girls Club, and that we, that's my motion.
There's a motion on the floor to cut our agreement with the, or end our agreement with the Boys and Girls Club made by Brandon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Trav. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Silent? Dave's going to vote silent. Motion carried. Where's Corey? I don't think so. Corey? No, I wasn't. Go ahead, Cora. We made a motion to end the agreement. It was approved. So we're on the next agenda item.
Okay, the next resolution is Fortune Bay Gaming Facility License Renewal.
Got a resolution 75-2017. For the Fortune Bay Gaming Facility license renewal. Whereas the Bois Forte Band of the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe is a federally recognized Indian tribe organized under the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, and whereas the lawful governing body of the band is the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council, and it is authorized to engage in business that furthers the economic well-being of the band and its members, and whereas the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council enacted Ordinance 43-94 on August 27, 1993 for the purpose of regulating gaming on lands within the territory of the band, whereas ordinance number 43-94 was approved by the National Indian Gaming Commission on January 18, 1994, pursuant to section 2710D2B of the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, and whereas section 7A of ordinance number 4394 provides that each facility wherein authorized gaming activities are to be conducted shall be separately licensed. And whereas by resolution number 68-2014, the existing gaming facility license for Fortune Bay Casino was renewed for a term of 3 years effective February 16, 2014. And whereas the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council finds that as a primary regulator of gaming activity within its territory, it is within its authority to determine when licenses should be renewed or reissued. And whereas the Reservation Tribal Council has determined that the construction, operation, and maintenance of Fortune Bay have been or are now conducted in a manner which adequately protects the environment and the public health and safety. Now therefore be it resolved that the chairwoman is authorized to attest and certify to the National Indian Gaming Commission pursuant to 25 CFR 559.4 that by renewing the facility license, the band has found that the gaming is conducted under standards, codes, and procedures which adequately protect the public health, safety, and environment. Be it further resolved that the gaming facility license of Fortune Bay Casino is renewed effective immediately upon expiration of the term of the current license, and said license shall be valid until it is revoked by official action of the band. And that license will end on February 16, 17. 2/16/17. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the Fortune Bay? Made by Ray. Is there a second? Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Next, we have the National Indian Gaming Association membership dues.
It's a resolution whereas the primary objectives and purpose of NIGA are to promote, protect, and preserve the general welfare and interest of Indian gaming tribes throughout the development of sound policies and practices with respect to the conduct of gaming activities in Indian country, to assist in the dissemination of information to the Indian gaming community, federal government, and the general public on issues related to the conduct of the gaming in Indian country, to preserve and protect the integrity of gaming in Indian country, and to maintain, protect, and advocate Indian tribal sovereignty. Now therefore be it resolved, Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council authorizes the payments of due for NIGA membership of $3,500. Be it further resolved that the Tribal Council authorizes the following individuals to represent and to vote on issues on behalf of the Bois Forte Reservation Tribal Council: Kathy Chavers, David Morrison Sr., Brandon Benner, Travis Morrison, Ray Tudoloff, Corey Strong, and Rick Anderson. Be it finally resolved that their appointments will remain in effect for 2017 and or until replaced by the council. These dues are paid every year and budgeted for. there a motion to approve the NIGA membership dues resolution?
So this, these 7 people now, this is who's representing and speaks for Bois Forte out there at NIGA. And this is new, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it says tribal chairperson is a delegate, and if they're not available to vote, then the alternates can vote at the meetings. I know like last year, I don't recall, I think Kevin was on the board at the time and he was running for office out there. And I think I had to step up and vote for Bois Forte at that meeting that time. So
what do you know? I mean, so this now ends that as far as the what he's doing out there, or how did that work?
Yeah. This is to delegate a Bois Forte delegate for a voting, as a voting member.
yeah, so I guess we'll probably talk with Mark on that then and have to draft something, I suppose, and let him know that he's not the delegate for Bois Forte anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve made by Brandon. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trav. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. Fire donation, Cor?
Yeah, WICO is handing out a letter that was signed and submitted, and there was, and behind that, there's a copy from the landlord of that facility. And generally, in the past, what we've done is when a person has been renting and there's a fire like that, we've contributed $500 towards their losses, and it sounds like it was a total loss for the individual and their family at this point. If the person owns their home, and then in the past we've contributed up to $1,500.
I'll move, because this is consistent with what we've been doing in the past. When somebody's burnt out, if they're renting, they get $500 for damages for property that they lost. And if they own their home, the council donates $1,500, so.
Okay, motion
It's
by.
a good gesture, I make the motion.
Sorry, Ray. Motion made by Ray to approve the $500 fire donation to Angela House in the amount of $500. Is there a second? Seconded by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Okay, last we have the reorganization, the restructure discussion. I asked Miranda to come up.
Tab, is that under?
It's under Miranda.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miranda.
What you have in your packets is the original documentation that I submitted back in December. There's a memo, and as you recall, this information is from a meeting on November 23rd, 2016, when the council met and proposed changes to the organizational structure. You have copies by department, as well as comments from senior management.
Just for everybody's information, tribal RTC and Miranda Kim started the process of reorganizing our government structure, and it's started in November or December, I believe. November, and it still has not been finalized yet. And so there were recommendations made by us. We did talk to some of the program people, and there were some changes made due to one of our government services are increasing. We've added transportation, Head Start's added their new program. We're growing. So I would like to also recommend that we, if whatever changes we approve today, that we reevaluate them in a year to see how that's working. Just to take a look at it, because sometimes we're not right, and the fit might not be there. I do have a recommendation that Corey had checked with the Grand Portage Tribal Council, their government structure, or their DNR department, and they have a trust land management division, which would be the forestry, the realty, and the GIS all in one. Cor, could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, they had those 3 departments there. I know that idea was brought up before, and so I just wanted to verify with them if they had that, and which they did.
Okay.
So.
Right now, some of the recommendations are, and RADW was one of the, RADW was the salary survey company we talked with, or contracted with regarding our salary schedule. One of the recommendations they moved was to split the Health and Human Services Department. And what we've recommended is that Sue Larson handle the medical clinic and be a co-director with Janelle Gogolai, who would then be handling the Human Services Division. That was one of the recommendations. Another recommendation was to move Lance Kingbird from collections under Kim Greiner. Currently, he just serves with doing housing collections, but as an overall reservation-wide, we are dealing with collections with water and sanitation and other programs and services. So we thought it would be best if we transferred Lance Kingbird under Kim Greiner to deal with all collections on the reservation, and even like the to assist with the Head Start daycare collections. I mean, that type of person to pursue that. The Heritage Center, no changes were made. No changes were made to the housing. No changes were made to HR. IT, the recommendation with the IT department that Randy Long oversees was to add KBFT under Randy Long. Under DNR, we did transfer Tom Burr into the realty into, and the GIS we moved over to planning and community development. I would like to recommend we follow suit with Grand Portage and do the trust land management and put forestry, GIS, and this is just my recommendation. Forestry, GIS, and realty under Corey in their own department. Andy, I explained, got those other guys. Joel Astelford in Public Works would assume all the maintenance in both Nett Lake and Vermilion. Currently, the maintenance is under Andy Datko for the building and around the area. And then the Vermilion facilities people are under, who's Vermilion? Andy also. So that would move these 2 departments into Joel Astelford with Public Works. Judicial stayed the same. I am also, just so you know, I am Wendy Morrison Thompson's supervisor, just due to the relations on the committee here. Jackie Wilson is also under Corey, but we will be adding the Duluth urban office under Jackie, which we will be opening a urban office in Duluth this year. That's our goal. Victoria Vilburn supervises Louise, that stays the same. Administration would stay the same, and then there was a recommendation under education to remove Head Start out on their own. Did I cover it all? Is that it? Miranda? In talking with Christine Lundemo, and I'm glad you're here, Christine, she has asked to be left under education. Billy?
Clarification, I wasn't aware that the recommendation to remove Head Start was an REDW recommendation.
Can you say it again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I wasn't aware that the REDW recommendation was to make that split. I thought that was a recommendation made internal by the Tribal Council.
That was just for Health and Human Services.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Not for Head Start. That was a council.
Okay.
Tara?
When were all these changes discussed?
These changes started in November. The trust land management issue.
Because this is the first that I've heard of this.
This is the first everybody's heard of it. And we could have had the directors do the changes, but we didn't think changes would be made for some of the departments. And like I said, I'd like to see this just be a one-year instance or one-year review, just to see how it works.
Okay. I do think for the DNR, that's a big mistake.
Okay, thank you.
You know, when this started, and we, just so everybody's clear, we met when we first discussed this. First of all, way back before, a year or two ago, before Trav and Kathy were on, I believe it was Representative Chosa wanted to see the salary scale and everything revisited. And, you know, that's when the, you know, this happened with REDW or whatever. You know, since then, I guess I kind of, you know, I didn't realize what was happening with the REDW and all the meeting. But basically, I don't believe that was her intent, was to, I think the root of everything we face financially and where we have our most problems is in our organizational chart and the way it was set up a few years back, 10, 12, 14 years back. There was a, you know, that we took on someone else's structure, and you know, for the basic person out there, the more things and the more branches and everything else you have under you, the higher your salary goes. And we're not big corporate America. We're not Denver. We're not Minneapolis. We ain't even Duluth. And you know, you got people taking home ginormous salaries for limited services provided to the people. And you know, this now we get, so that happened where this company comes in and we paid them $80,000 to come in and basically listen to the people that, would be the senior management, and basically listen to them, listen to the people that want to keep things the same. So it was in my mind, it was kind of a waste of $80,000. But you know, okay, fast forwarding now to when we first met on organization and changing the organizational chart. We met up at Fortune Bay in the executive boardroom, and all 5 council members were there. And we set this out on the floor, and we made all of these charts, and we agreed to the way it was set up, and we were going to do the approval at the next meeting, or the next meeting. And you know, I guess my take on it is, if we talk about fair and being fair, and being honest and everything else, you know, these changes that were made to the agreement that we informally made, you know, I just heard about them this morning, 15 minutes before the meeting, and you know, and I'm on the tribal council, so my feeling was that I voted, or that I agreed to some changes that have already been made, based on what we agreed upon in the executive boardroom at Fortune Bay. And I agreed, I took everybody, you know, at their word that that's the way we were going to try it for a year or whatever it may be. So I agreed to it. We compromised. Now, I have people too that probably would have came and talked to me and lobbied me to keep things the same. But I told them that this is the way it's going to be, and this is what we compromised on and all agreed on, and that's how it was going to be. I do believe that, you know, sometimes, you know, we have to make decisions, you know, us 5 that are tough, and we have to do, you know, what we think is the best for our reservation. And, you know, I do believe that there's some commissioners that didn't get the chance to have their staff tell us their side of the story. There's some commissioners sitting here that I'm sure their staff would have came too and said, hey, I like it this way because of this. I would like to see it stay this way because of this. And they weren't given that opportunity. And you know, that's my take on it. I would like to make the motion to approve the organizational chart the way we agreed to at Fortune Bay in the executive boardroom.
Okay.
Make that motion.
There's a motion on, oops.
If the change to education don't take place, then I wouldn't like to stay under Corey. I didn't have the option to, you know, they just told me I was gonna get moved to Andy. They didn't ask me or anything. So if Christine can move or stay under there, then I would like to stay under Corey. And I'm sure you're gonna have Robbie coming in and everybody else. So once you decide something, you should stick with it. Don't make no changes. That's what we voted you people in there for, to make decisions for the betterment of the entire band, not just a select few.
Thank you, Don. There's a motion on the floor to approve the organizational chart with the way it was first drafted in the executive boardroom. which separated the Head Start program from education and moved Tom Burr, I believe, to Realty to Andy, along with Bennett Morse, and to Split Health Services, the same way with Sue Larson at the clinic, and KBFT under Randy, Lance Kingbird under Kim Greiner, and is that the only changes, Miranda?
Yes, but Tom Burr has already been officially moved.
Yes.
So that's not included.
Okay, thank you. Motion on the floor made by, oh.
They broke out transportation from planning.
Oh, yeah.
That's correct.
But when we did have comments and we sent out, we had a senior management meeting, ran it by everybody and gave everybody a chance to, the commissioners to meet with their staff and get comments back. You know, that was one of the changes that were in there, were some of the comments that were handed back.
Brandon made the motion to approve the organizational chart as it was in the executive board room, which means that transportation would be on its own.
On its own.
There a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Trav. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No.
2 opposed. I have to break the tie. And I do want to say a comment before I make my decision. What I did not lobby, or anybody did not lobby to me with regards to the programs. When the changes were made, we did ask Billy Mason and Janelle Gogolite to come in, due in part that they had concerns about not. They had concerns. We brought them in executive session. They voiced their concerns. For the changes that were made, I went to each individual department. I went to Randy Long and asked him about KBFT. Can you handle it? He said, yeah, he can. Asked Andy about transportation and Realty and GIS, and he said, yes, he can. Kim with Lance there was no problem there. She wants to work with Lance on collections. I also asked Christine Bloom what her thoughts were about, because Head Start expanded this year, and I gave her time to think about it. She did come back to me after speaking with Billy Mason, and I did not coerce or do anything, lobby, nobody did. And she preferred to stay under the Head Start program due to the fact that they just added a brand new large program to their department, and it's too overwhelming this year for her to obtain. Am I correct, Christine?
So did you call her or did she call you?
I talked to her at a staff meeting here. Yes, I did. I asked her because I wanted to ask people how they felt about the changes. I was the only council member that approached Christine because I knew she did have a huge program. But I thought I'd give her the option because I figured this would come to a tie. Christine?
You're right, Kathy, that you did come to me
Yes.
at the staff meeting. I think it was at our Christmas party.
Oh, Christmas party, yes.
And I appreciate that. I appreciated the council coming to me and asking my opinion on this situation. I don't want anybody to think that I was pressured or coerced or anything like that. Billy and I have worked together for about 18 years. And we've had our ups and downs, just like every other program here. But overall, we work very well. And we revenued $1.8 million since 2015. And we did that together. And so why fix something that's broken? That's all I wanted to say.
You know, no, not to you. You know, I heard it from Don, and you know, I had some questions, you know, from Tara, and even from some other people in health. But you know, and that was their, you know, their questions and their concerns, just like, and their praises and everything else, and their criticism about it, like Dawn in particular, you know, she didn't like the fact of going under Andy. Nothing against Andy, but she, you know, she kind of liked where she was at. And, but I told her that was the compromise and the agreement and the decision of the council. And to me, what Don and you know, Tara's comments and a couple other people within the health, to me, that's a form of voicing their concern and basically lobbying. But at my feeling on it was the five of us had already made that agreement. And my job at that time was to back up the tribal council and in the decision that they made. So I basically, in a nice way, told them that that's the way it was, and we compromised it, and that's how it was going to be, and to try it for a year or whatever. So, you know, I guess we can't say we're listening to everybody that's lobbying, or that everybody that's voicing their concern, because you know, I can't say, you know, I'm the only council member that listened to DNR or listened to someone in the health department, because at that time I was backing the informal decision that we had agreed to make.
Thank you, Brandon.
Well, before you vote, cast your vote, Kath.
Yeah.
I know that day when we met at Fortune Bay and we did sit down as a council and we went over the organizational chart, but it wasn't set in stone that day. We talked about it, sure, we did talk about it, but again, we walked away that day and we were gonna come back and do some more discussion on it. And myself, you know, after I looked at what we did, and I thought, you know, it was wrong for us to be pulling Janelle out of health services. And I looked at and I didn't go sit down with any of the staff. You know, I looked over all the staff in human services, and the name that kept popping up as a human services director was Pam Hughes. Pam has been in human services all her life. When I first got elected, you know, Pam worked for the Chippewa tribe at the time, and Pam came out of human services, and she knows the ins and out of of the whole human services division, ICWA, CD, and then she, when she makes a decision, she sits down and does her homework, and she really does her homework well. It was just apparent this morning when she was here on the agenda at first right away this morning, and that's who I thought, you know, I was going to recommend that we'd put in as a human services director was Pam. And I know Pam is having some medical problems right now, but you know, she's a strong lady, she's a strong-willed lady, and I know that she'd put all her effort into doing that job. And that's who I was going to recommend to put in at the human services division. But again, you know, that is why I voted against the salary structure today, was because I thought that we quite didn't finish discussing everything. And I didn't know that there was going to be a motion thrown on the table to go ahead and approve the organizational chart. So that's why I opposed the organizational chart, because I felt that we as the council, we're not quite ready to approve it. I think that, we could have probably, discussed it a little bit more. And I know that we were supposed to approve it at a meeting earlier, but as you know, my wife has some medical problems, and she's been in and out of the hospital down at the Mayo, and I've tried to be there as many times as I can, just to support her and be there to support that effort. And I know that the one meeting that where we were supposed to discuss the organization chart, I couldn't be there that day, and so it was taken off the agenda. And like I said, I thought that we were going to put in a little more discussion on it, but that's why I voted against the salary structure.
Thank you, Dave.
One more comment, two more comments. I know, with the comment that it wasn't set in stone, and it was informal. But with what we agreed on in that room, there was some immediate action that was taken as far as people moving and things like that, and we all agreed on that. So it already started the process of what we had agreed on at Fortune Bay. There was a moval that week, and we agreed upon that, based on what we discussed in that room. And those types of things that that's what we agreed upon. And the second thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to you guys for discussing this in an open session, because as tough as it is, and as strong as the feelings are from all angles, this is the way to do government. This is how to do it. If this would have been an executive session, then people are free to assume and say things and say whatever they want about something that happened or was decided behind a closed door. And this is how to do it. It's not nice. It's not pleasant all the time, but nobody so far has been respectful or said anything mean. It's adults voicing their opinions and their concerns in a respectful way. That's going to lead to good decision making by the government. So, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Brandon. Oh, I'm sorry, Billy.
I too would like to say, along the lines of what Brandon just said, is having it open and general session, allows for everyone to hear what's said. I know it was mentioned that something about employees and departments not having an opportunity to say something, but I believe after the meeting from Fortune Bay, it was brought that following Monday to the senior management meeting. We were then given our department's changes to share with our staff, and also a deadline. And I think we were to give them back to Miranda, which my department did. So my department did see the changes in the structure, and if they chose to send comments, they had that opportunity. And I want to thank my staff and Christine for getting up and speaking her opinion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. I do have a question for Miranda. We met at Fortune Bay in the executive boardroom. The senior management met regarding that, and then we had another meeting because I remember you putting the organizational chart out here on the floor in a tribal council meeting in executive session. So we actually met a second time on that organizational chart.
That was Simona.
Oh, that was Simona, I'm sorry. Okay.
And I thought at that time,
Health and education.
transit was put back under Andy. And I'm not sure.
Simona, do you remember? Sorry.
Because I believe what happened at that meeting is reflected in these
minutes,
these ones that you have.
Oh.
And because transit is under Andy again.
I do. I know there's still a tie on the floor, so I'll be breaking that tie in just a minute.
You know, while they're figuring this out, you know, the last thing that I'm going to say about the whole organizational chart and the salary structure and scale is, I think, you know, and I've made I've made a lot of pretty accurate predictions in my first term on the tribal council. You know, I believe that we are going to have to hit the ground. We're going to have to run aground before we're forced to take a look at some of this stuff financially, and you know, I hope that that's not the case, but I think that's what's gonna have to happen. So
I think we figured it out. One from that second meeting was transit went back under Andy, so that's reflected in here. Jackie was out on her own, but she went back under Corey. And Bennett, instead of the GIS, instead of answering to Realty, answers directly to Andy.
Okay. Okay, so those changes are made the second time around. Okay. All right. With regards to my vote, I vote no. Just because there were changes made at the second meeting, so motion is not approved for the change. I want to ask the council and also anybody that's willing to speak what they suggest or what their comments are regarding how do we pursue this, or do we just leave it as is? It's something I think that the people now know and that we need to answer to them about. Are we going to change it first or leave as is? And if we are going to make changes, how do we do that? It's up to you guys. Corey, you too? One of the reasons, and I'll say this, Don, I don't know if it was mentioned to you, that we were trying to limit the amount of people Corey supervises. And that was one of the reasons why we moved you under Andy, because we added more people under Corey. It's a back and forth. So I guess I would like to ask the council, where do we go from here?
I guess one comment that I have is coming from the human resources standpoint and thinking about all of our employees, you know, with the salary schedule coming, with the reorganization that was mentioned, the staff is kind of in limbo, and that may be affecting employee morale. We keep kind of telling them, you know, we have yet to make a decision, and staff are uncertain. They don't know if they're going to be split. They don't know if they're staying. They don't know if they're going. And so from the human resources standpoint, I would urge the council, to try to wrap this up as soon as possible.
Okay.
It's been, 2 months. The salary schedule has been going on for over a year now, and so we're kind of getting there, but we're not. And I really think, that we need to finalize something.
Okay. Thank you, Miranda. I think that's good from an HR standpoint. Brendan, I don't know if you heard, but I also voted no on the reorganization, and I'd like to know what direction we want to take from here. And that's when Miranda was mentioning that from an employee standpoint, be nice to get it over with. I do have a suggestion, because we did do the second meeting. This is just a suggestion for the council, is to go with our second meeting that we had here when transportation was moved back under community. We had it right here with Simona. Move it back under transportation, back under Andy. Official action, it was already taken to move realty over to Andy. But I would like to make the suggestion, and this is just a suggestion, based on what Christine said today, is just put Head Start under Billy and go with that recommendation. Leave the DNR as is.
I agree with Miranda, and based on not knowing any of this stuff until 15 minutes before this meeting, I would suggest you guys do it now. Just, in an open session, do everything that you guys want to do, but do it now. I mean, you kind of already have it set up, and the way you guys want to do it. I would be, kind of happy with just getting it over with. And if you guys already have a plan, then just do it, and let's do it now. Good as time as any.
Do it by department?
That's what I was going to suggest.
Should we do it by department? Because some departments are pretty well set.
Yeah, and I think either way we go with reorganization, my supervision of departments are going to grow, and I think I already oversee 14 different ones, and so I think it's going to go to 18, and that's even if Taro goes under planning. So either way, it's going to be out of responsibility for me.
Either way, you're going to have more core.
Yeah.
I think that's a month or so ago. I think that's kind of, I don't know if it was Tara or if it was Janelle. One of them, they said that whatever you're going to do, just do it, and get it over with. And that's what I would like you guys to do right now. Just do it. And I'm just happy it's in open session.
Okay, let's do it by department. How's that? Are you guys okay with that? Yeah. No?
I don't know. That's going to be quite a grueling process, but I'm just thinking we've kind of manufactured a convoluted mess, and from the beginning I've just wondered, why are we doing this? But that being said, I've got a recommendation that we could maybe all live with, and I think that is that we leave Janelle, the health administrator, as it is. Come up with a new human services director for that department. Separate those two. Those departments, health and human service, seems to be the biggest issue. So if we make two departments there, divisions, whatever we call them, and then leave education as it was, because that seems to be the parties that are involved want to keep it that way. So that's the only, and the other changes are more minor, and I would leave as is.
The changes, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
changes, and then propose that. Changes that are already in place, leave as is. And health would stay with Janelle. And human services with whoever. If it's Pam, that would be great. We all know Pam's capability. But we don't hire that way, you know. Right? So, but
One of.
so that's my
Okay,
that's my
thank you, Ray.
motion.
Okay, Ray has a motion on the floor to put education, leave the others as is that were changed. With regards to education, put Head Start under education, and then to leave Janelle as the Director of Health Services and open a new position for Human Services.
Motion.
Ray's motion. I do have a question, just one question, Ray, on your motion. Is the council going to fund the new Human Services Director? I know the programs are limited on
I
their
would say
funds.
we would,
I know the programs are
Because I know the
limited.
funds are
Yes.
there, we're generating third-party revenue. I think it can be handled.
Okay, I just need to get that clarified. Thank you. I guess.
That's right.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Oh, geez. Ray wants a motion to approve the following changes to the original changes that were done on the organizational chart, being Health and Human Services remain under the direction of Janelle, with a new Human Services Director position being hired, and then also a Head Start going under education. The other changes would remain the same, like with Joel's program and Randy and Andy and Kim. Correct?
I was just mentioning to Pam back there, at some point, she was recommending at the state level, Human Services is now being called
Behavioral health?
behavioral health, to
Okay.
include all of that. So I don't know when we'll end up doing that, but however, if that split happens, then at some point we'll need to bring,
Okay.
whether that needs a big action or not,
Okay.
that'll be the behavioral health
Okay,
department.
we've got Ray's motion on the floor. I don't even know how to put that one. Second by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Ah. Okay, tied 2-2. My vote on that would be no. The reason I voted no is REDW suggested the split, which I know Ray did. The council funding the position, I don't really see that because we're talking about money. The reason for the decision that was made regarding splitting human services and health, or health and human services, it was to put co-directors in to work together. And rather than hiring a new position and creating that funding, we already have two people hired, a clinic manager and the health services director. And rather than creating a new position and new funding, finding new funding for a human services director, I thought, why not just keep the two people in charge of the two departments? That way it doesn't cost the tribe any additional funds. And that's why I voted no. Because this would cost the tribe additional funds for that salary and fringe. Probably about $100,000 in salary and fringe. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Need a consult.
Please zoom in.
No, do not. There.
Should I bring this over there?
Okay. There's no new motions. There's no new motions to change, then we still stick with the status quo. So if there's no changes, then everything stays the
We've
same.
made some changes already that have to be approved.
That's already been approved.
That's been approved, okay.
The realty guy's been approved. Just one.
Realty under planning.
It was just,
Nope.
it was just realty.
Just realty. So far, realty is the only change that's been made. Yep, council did that by... Yes.
Yeah.
So it stays the same.
Yep. Unless there's a new motion.
Yeah, I guess I don't appreciate all the feelings and stuff that were brought by this, and the animosity that comes from it, from going in a big circle.
Mhm.
And I guess that's the only thing that I regret about this whole big fiasco. So,
Thank you, Brandon. Call for a motion to adjourn.
At a lot of people's time, especially yours. You guys are supposed to be our leaders in making decisions. Well, you guys are just running around in a circle, and that's telling the community, the whole community, we need to change those seats.
Thank you, Don. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Ray. Is there a second? Second by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. We'll take a 10-minute break.